The alarms of the medical wing echoed across the silent corridors of the orbiting hospital ship. It was meant to be a place of calm healing, but that night the sound of the alert felt like a battle cry. Leora, a young alien nurse with sea-green skin and glowing eyes, rushed to the emergency bay. Her long hair swung behind her as her boots tapped fast against the polished floor. She had been trained for all kinds of patients, from reptilian warriors to insectoid miners, but the one waiting inside was different. This one was human. Humans were still a mystery to her people. They were few in number across the galaxy, scattered after wars and exploration. Leora had read the reports: fragile bones, short lifespans, soft skin, but also strange resilience, a will to live that even machines could not measure. She entered the bay and froze when she saw him. The human lay on the medical bed, chest rising and falling with uneven breath. His face was pale, but his eyes were alive, darting around as if searching for danger, even in sickness. She approached carefully, scanning the monitors. His vital signs were unstable, beating like drums before a storm. The machines showed data she could barely understand. His cells were changing too quickly, responding to medicine in ways no textbook had warned her about. She placed her hand on his arm and felt the heat through his skin. Something inside him was shifting. The war outside had brought him here. Only hours ago, a skirmish had erupted between patrol fleets near the neutral zones. Dozens were injured, but the human had been different. He had fought with reckless courage, shielding others when his body should have collapsed. Now he lay broken but alive, carried here by soldiers who whispered that he had saved them all. Leora adjusted the injector on his side and leaned closer. "Stay with me," she whispered, even though she knew he might not understand her language. His lips curved slightly, almost like a smile, as if he had heard her. His body trembled, and the monitors spiked again. She gasped, staring at the readings. His muscles were repairing faster than possible, bones knitting at a speed that defied biology. She had seen alien species with regeneration traits, but this was something else. It wasn't just healing, it was growing. His heartbeats grew louder on the monitor, each one pushing his body harder. She could see it now under his skin, veins glowing faintly, energy spreading through him like wildfire. Leora stumbled back, eyes wide. Her mind raced. Was this some hidden ability humans had kept secret? Or was it the war medicine reacting strangely with his blood? She remembered her mentor's words: "Humans are unpredictable. Never trust the data, alone trust what you see." What she saw terrified her. His body was rewriting itself. The human's eyes opened suddenly, locking onto hers. For a moment, time stopped. She saw pain, yes, but also determination. He tried to sit up, but his strength wavered, forcing him back onto the bed. His hand lifted weakly, brushing against hers. Leora felt the warmth of his skin and the trembling power beneath it. Around them, the room hummed with the sound of machines and the distant rumble of the war outside. She knew she should call the chief physician, report the anomaly, and step away. But something in the way he looked at her made her hesitate. He wasn't just a patient. He was a warning, or perhaps a promise. Her heart pounded as she checked the monitors again. His body was swelling in strange patterns, muscles forming new strength, veins carrying more than blood. She had never felt fear like this in a medical bay, but at the same time, she couldn't turn away. This human was breaking every rule she had learned, and for the first time in her young career, Leora understood why so many species feared humans, even when they looked fragile. Beneath the surface was something no training could prepare her for. Something unstoppable. The medical bay was filled with a strange hum, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Leora stood by the human's bed, her eyes fixed on the monitors. The numbers refused to settle. One moment his pulse looked ready to collapse, the next it surged with energy strong enough to shatter the machine's limits. She leaned closer, trying to steady her hands. Nurses were taught not to show fear, but this was something beyond fear. The human's body trembled, sweat dripping from his brow, yet his breathing was stronger with every moment. His chest rose and fell with force, as if each breath was a battle he was determined to win. Leora adjusted the scanner to get a deeper look. What she saw left her speechless. His cells were dividing faster than she had ever seen. Bones that had been fractured were fusing as if days had passed in minutes. Torn muscle fibers were thickening, gaining strength that no drug in her medkit could explain. She whispered to herself, "This is impossible." But the sound of her own voice reminded her that she was alone with him. There was no senior doctor beside her, no mentor to take over. It was just her and this human who seemed caught between dying and becoming something more. The man's eyes opened again, sharper this time, no longer clouded by pain. He stared at her with intensity, and for a second, she thought he was going to speak. But only a rasp escaped his lips. She leaned down, her face close to his. "What is happening to you?" she asked softly, unsure if he could understand. His lips curled into that same faint smile, as if he knew something. In single quotes to dot the door to the bay hissed open, and another nurse stepped inside. A tall insectoid with glassy eyes. He stopped when he saw the readings on the monitors. His mandibles clicked nervously. "What have you done, Leora? These numbers are not normal." Leora shook her head quickly. "I didn't do this. He's healing himself. Faster than anything we've ever studied." The insectoid stepped closer, his claws tapping on the console. "Or he's mutating. Either way, this is dangerous. Humans were not supposed to be treated here. They warned us." Leora's chest tightened. She remembered the warnings. Humans were unstable, some said cursed. But now that she was watching this one fight to survive, she couldn't think of him as dangerous. She saw courage, not threat. "He saved lives on the battlefield," she whispered. "He deserves a chance." The insectoid hissed low. "Or he will destroy us all." With that, he turned and hurried out, likely to call the senior physicians. Leora looked back at the human, panic in her chest. She didn't want him taken away, studied like a weapon, locked in labs where he'd never see the stars again. She had seen what happened to patients declared too unusual. They were not patients anymore, they became specimens. The man groaned suddenly, gripping the edge of the bed with surprising strength. The metal bent under his fingers. Leora gasped and reached for him, pressing his shoulder gently. "Stay calm," she urged. "You're safe here." But she wasn't sure if it was true. For a moment his body glowed faintly beneath the skin, as though light itself pulsed through his veins. The glow faded, but the strength remained. He sat up slowly this time, not collapsing like before. His gaze met hers, and there was something steady in his eyes, something that made her heart skip. "Don't let them." "Take me," he whispered, his voice finally forming words. Leora froze. He had understood her. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling as she nodded. "I won't," she said firmly, though she wasn't sure how she could keep such a promise. The door outside echoed with footsteps. The physicians were coming, maybe even guards. She only had seconds to decide. Her eyes darted to the human again. His body was no longer fragile. He looked stronger by the minute, like he was becoming something new. Something neither she nor the galaxy had seen before. And in that instant, Leora realized she was not just a nurse anymore. She was standing at the center of something larger, a war not fought with fleets, but with what one human carried inside him. The footsteps outside grew louder, heavy against the polished floor of the medical wing. Leora's heart raced. The physicians were close. She glanced at the human, who now sat upright on the bed. His breathing was steady, his chest rising with controlled strength. He no longer looked like a patient struggling to survive. He looked like someone preparing for what came next. The door hissed open, and 3 figures stepped inside. The chief physician, tall and robed in silver, was flanked by 2 armored guards. His eyes, cold and analytical, scanned the room before locking on the human. "Report, Nurse Leora," he commanded. His tone left no room for hesitation. Leora stood straighter, though her voice trembled slightly. "Patient shows accelerated recovery. Bones, muscles, and tissues are regenerating at a rate beyond recorded parameters. Vitals are stable. More than stable." The chief physician approached, his gaze narrowing. He tapped the monitor and frowned. "This is not healing. This is transformation." He turned to the guards. "Prepare containment. This human may be unstable." The words hit Leora like a knife. Containment. She had seen what that meant. No more patient care, no more dignity. It meant chains, cold chambers, endless tests. She stepped forward quickly. "Chief, with respect, he is conscious. He speaks. He's aware of what's happening to him." The physician didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on the human, who now watched him with a piercing gaze. "That makes him more dangerous, not less," he said flatly. The human clenched his fists, the faint glow under his skin returning for a moment. The guards stiffened, their hands tightening on their weapons. The air in the room grew tense, like a string pulled too tight. Leora moved between the bed and the guards. "He saved lives in the battle," she said quickly. "He risked everything for soldiers who weren't even his own people." "Does that sound like a threat?" The chief physician finally turned his gaze on her, his expression sharp. "You are young, nurse. Compassion blinds you. The galaxy has always feared humans for good reason. They adapt, they change, and no one knows the limits of their bodies. This is why they must be controlled." The human's voice, hoarse but firm, cut through the air. "I don't need your control." Everyone froze. The words were clear, strong enough to silence the hum of the machines. His eyes locked on the physician, unflinching. "You put me in a cage and I'll break it." The guards took a step closer, their weapons humming with energy. Leora's pulse raced. She could see the human's arms trembling, not from weakness but from a growing strength he struggled to contain. "Stop," she said firmly, raising her hands toward the guards. "If you push him, you'll only make it worse." The chief physician studied the human carefully, then looked back at Leora. "Do you understand what you're protecting, child? This man is not just a patient. He is an anomaly. An anomaly can destroy worlds." The human's eyes softened for a moment when he looked at Leora. "I didn't ask for this," he whispered. "I just wanted to fight for the ones beside me. I won't hurt anyone unless they try to cage me." Her chest tightened. She saw no monster in him, only a soldier who had given more than he should. She turned back to the physician, gathering every ounce of courage. "Then don't treat him like a monster," she said. The physician's gaze hardened. "You would defy protocol? For a human?" Leora's voice was steady now. "For my patient." The silence that followed felt like a storm waiting to break. The chief physician finally gestured to the guards. "Stand down for now. But the council will hear of this. And when they do, the human will not leave this ship freely." The guards lowered their weapons reluctantly. The physician swept out of the room, his robes brushing the floor. The door hissed closed behind him, leaving Leora and the human alone once more. She exhaled deeply, her body trembling from the tension. The human leaned back against the bed, his strength still radiating like heat. "You risked yourself," he said quietly. Leora met his eyes. "You're more than what they fear," she replied. "And I'll prove it." For the first time, a real smile crossed his lips. It was small, but it carried something she hadn't seen in any patient before: trust. Asterisk drifted in orbit, a silent sentinel above the war-torn planet. But inside the council chamber, silence was nowhere to be found. Voices clashed like blades, echoing off the high walls. The council of physicians, cloaked in their ceremonial robes. debated the one subject that had shaken their calm order, the human patient. Leora stood at the back of the chamber, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. She had been summoned, though her presence felt more like an accusation than an honor. The chief physician stood at the center, recounting what had happened in Medical Bay. His words painted the human as a threat, a being whose body was spiraling beyond control. Every detail felt like a chain tightening around her patient. The human's physiology has proven unstable, the chief declared. Bones fused in minutes, muscle density doubled, cellular energy spiking beyond limits. This is no simple healing. It is an uncontrolled evolution. Left unchecked, it could endanger this ship and all aboard. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some faces showed fear, others curiosity. Leora's chest burned. They spoke of him like he was a disease, not a man. She wanted to shout, to remind them he had saved lives. But she forced herself to wait, to listen, until her moment came. Finally, one elder turned to her. "Nurse Leora, you were the first witness. Do you confirm these changes?" Her throat tightened. She could lie, but the monitor's data was already recorded. She nodded slowly. Yes, his body is changing. But he is aware, conscious, and in control. He is not dangerous unless treated as one. A wave of disapproval swept across the room. The chief seized on her words. Control? You saw his strength. You saw the glow beneath his skin. What creature can control power it does not understand? Leora lifted her chin. What creature? A human. And maybe that is what makes them different. He told me himself he does not want to harm anyone. He only wants freedom. The chamber erupted in noise again. Some elders dismissed her words as naive compassion. Others whispered that perhaps the human's willpower was itself the danger. Amid the storm of voices, one quiet elder raised her hand. The room fell still. She was old, her skin lined with years, but her gaze was sharp. Fear is an easy chain, she said softly. But sometimes what we fear is what we need. Her eyes rested on Leora. This nurse has risked herself to defend him. If she is wrong, she will pay the price. If she is right, then perhaps the galaxy must learn something new about humans. The words hung heavy in the air. The chief physician's jaw tightened, but even he did not challenge the elder openly. Finally, the council agreed. The human would remain under observation, but under stricter guard. If his power grew beyond reason, they would not hesitate to act. When the chamber emptied, Leora walked back through the dim corridors, her thoughts tangled. She felt both relief and dread. She had bought him time, but time was fragile. Every moment his body changed, the council's fear would grow. She entered the medical bay quietly. The human sat on the bed, not restrained, but two guards stood at the door with weapons ready. He looked up when she entered, his eyes steady. "You spoke for me," he said simply. She nodded. "They want to keep you here, under watch. But you're safe. For now." His lips curved faintly. "For now," he repeated. He flexed his hands slowly, testing his strength. The faint glow under his skin returned, brighter this time, flowing like rivers of light beneath the surface. Leora's breath caught. It was beautiful, but also terrifying. He noticed her gaze and gave a short laugh, though it held no humor. "I don't know what's happening to me. My body feels alive in ways I can't explain. Stronger, sharper, faster. But I can feel it pulling at me, like it wants more." Her heart ached. "You're not alone," she whispered. "I'll stay with you. Whatever this is, we'll face it together." He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. "Then I'll fight it. Not for me. For the ones who believe." The hum of the ship deepened, a reminder that the war outside had not ended. But Leora knew the real battle was here in this room, in the veins of the human sitting before her dot, and for the first time, She wondered if the fate of the war itself might rest not on fleets or armies, but on him. The silence of the medical bay was shattered by the deep rumble of the ship's alarm. Red lights pulsed across the walls, and the guards outside the door stiffened immediately. Leora rushed to the console, reading the flashing symbols. Her stomach sank. The ship was under attack. Through the comm system, a voice boomed. Enemy raiders inbound. All hands to defense stations. The guards exchanged looks. One tapped his wristband, whispering hurriedly into it, while the other stepped into the room, eyes locked on the human. His weapon hummed to life. The human swung his legs over the edge of the bed, his body steadier than ever before. He looked stronger than the day he had been brought in, his movements fluid and confident. The faint glow still pulsed under his skin, but now it seemed controlled, like a rhythm he had accepted. Leora moved quickly to his side. "You can't fight. You're still healing." He gave her a wry smile. "Healing? Look at me, nurse. I'm not just healing anymore." Before she could respond, the ship shook violently. The ceiling lights flickered as the sound of distant explosions echoed through the halls. The guard at the door shouted, "Orders from the council. The human is to remain here under watch. Do not let him leave." The human's eyes narrowed. He stood fully now, taller than she remembered, his posture steady. "If this ship falls, your counsel won't matter. You need every fighter you've got." The guard raised his weapon. "You will stay here." The human stepped forward, his voice calm but sharp. "Try to stop me, and you'll regret it." The tension was broken by another tremor that threw everyone off balance. Leora grabbed the edge of the bed to steady herself. She could hear screams and running footsteps in the corridors. The raiders had boarded. The human turned to her. "They'll come for the medical bay." Raiders always want the weak first. Her heart pounded. He was right. She had treated enough soldiers to know raiders showed no mercy. She looked at him, at the strength in his arms, the fire in his eyes. He wasn't weak anymore. "You'll need a weapon," she whispered. He shook his head. "My body is the weapon now." As if to prove it, the door suddenly burst open. 3 raiders stormed in, snarling, their armor dark and jagged. They froze when they saw him standing tall in the center of the room. For a moment, there was silence. Then one laughed, raising the blade. "The human? They said you were broken. Easy kill." But the human moved faster than their eyes could follow. He caught the raider's arm mid-swing, twisting it until the weapon clattered to the floor. With one motion, he hurled the attacker across the room. The other 2 lunged, but he was already moving. His fists struck like iron, his body glowing faintly with each movement. Leora stood frozen, her breath caught in her chest. He wasn't just strong, he was precise, each strike clean, each motion efficient. The raiders fell one by one, groaning on the floor. Their armor cracked under blows that should have been impossible for any human. When it was over, the guards at the door stared wide-eyed, weapons half raised but trembling. The human looked back at them calmly, his chest rising and falling with controlled breath. "Still think I should stay in bed?" he asked. The guards didn't answer. Leora finally found her voice. You fought like no one I've ever seen." He looked at her, his expression serious. "That's what I'm afraid of. Every time I fight, I feel it growing inside me. More strength, more power. I don't know where the limit is, or if there is one." The ship shook again, louder this time. Over the comm, the captain's voice screamed for reinforcements. The human stepped closer to Leora. "I need to fight. Not just to protect this ship, but to find out what I'm becoming. If I don't, they'll never stop fearing me. And maybe they're right to." Her chest tightened. She knew the council would never approve, but she also knew the truth. Without him, the ship might not survive the night. She met his eyes, steady and bright. "Then fight," And I'll stand with you. Asterisk, the ship groaned under the weight of the battle outside. Explosions shook the corridors, rattling the med bay walls. The smell of burning metal drifted in with the air systems, sharp and acrid. Leora stood beside the human, her pulse racing. He looked ready, more than ready. His body glowed faintly again, veins of light pulsing beneath the skin like fire waiting to burst. The guards hesitated, torn between obeying the council and trusting their eyes. After what they had seen him do to the raiders, even their weapons looked small. One guard finally stepped aside. "If you're going to fight," he muttered, "then fight for all of us." The human gave a short nod and moved into the hall. Leora followed without thinking, her steps quick to keep up with him. The corridors were chaos, soldiers running, alarms wailing, sparks showering from broken conduits. Raiders had breached multiple decks. The human advanced steadily, unarmed, yet every movement carried purpose. When the next squad of raiders appeared, he didn't wait. He surged forward like lightning. His fists struck harder than their blades, his body weaving through them like a force of nature. Each blow landed with the sound of breaking steel. The glow under his skin flared brighter, lighting the corridor like a beacon. Leora ducked behind a console, watching in awe. He wasn't just surviving, he was unstoppable. The raiders' fear was plain. They had come expecting prey, but they found something else entirely. Within moments, the attackers lay scattered across the floor, groaning or unconscious. The ship's cum crackled. Enemy raiders retreating. "They're pulling back." Cheers erupted through the halls, but Leora's relief was mixed with unease. She turned to the human. His chest heaved with breath, but his eyes were different now, brighter, almost burning. His hands trembled, not from weakness but from holding back. He leaned against the wall, his voice low. "It's stronger now. Every fight makes it grow. I don't know what I'll become if this keeps going." Leora stepped close, her voice steady despite her fear. "You're still you. I saw the choice in your eyes. You fought to protect, not destroy." His gaze softened, the fire dimming slightly. "And if I lose that choice? Then I'll remind you," she said firmly. Before he could answer, the council arrived, escorted by soldiers this time. The chief physician stepped forward, his expression grim as he looked over the fallen raiders. Then his eyes landed on the human, glowing faintly in the dim light. "You've proven everything I feared," the chief said coldly. "No creature should hold such power. You are too dangerous to be free." The human straightened, shoulders broad, gaze unflinching. "Dangerous to who? The ones who cage me or the ones I just saved?" The council murmured among themselves. Some nodded in agreement with the chief, others stared at the human with awe. The old elder who had spoken before finally raised her voice. "This ship still stands because of him. Fear cannot blind us to truth. Power alone does not make a monster, only how it is used." The silence that followed was heavy. Slowly, the guards lowered their weapons. The chief physician's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The human looked to Leora, and for the first time since she met him, his glow faded completely. He looked like a man again, not a weapon. "I didn't want this," he said softly. "But if this is what I am, then I'll use it to protect. Not just humans. Anyone who needs it." Leora smiled, her chest warm. "Then maybe that's what the galaxy needs to see." The council did not give an answer that night, but the story had already begun. Whispers spread across the ship of a human who healed faster than machines, who fought harder than armies, who stood when no one else could. Some called him a threat. Others called him hope. For Leora, it was simpler. He was her patient, her promise. And now her friend Dot, as the ship drifted back into calm orbit, she knew the galaxy would never be the same. Because one human had shown them what it truly meant to fight, not with power alone, but with choice.